Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, today's guest is, well, first of all, he's a business owner, he's an author, he's a musician. He also repairs, services, and manufactures drums and percussions. Time to meet Dave Brummet. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm just thinking, you're obviously not an underachiever.
No, I keep pretty busy. It keeps me young.
Now, I know you and your wife work together. Is that correct?
We do, yes. We're a team on a lot of things. Yeah.
So when did you start working together?
Well, we got married, or we met in 1990, and we married about 8 years later, I think.
Mhm.
So yeah, we've been together for over 35 years now. Yeah.
But working together is different, is not always the same thing, right? Because not all couples work well together.
Yeah, we work pretty well together. Yeah, we're a good team. We know where to concentrate our own strengths and work around the other, and what one can't do, the other usually picks up and does. So
Very good.
yeah, we get along really well. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, very good. So tell us about your business.
Okay, our business started way back in, let's see, probably the mid 90s. I took a writing course and decided to start freelance writing. I had a dream of being possibly a science fiction writer, and of course, that's still in the works. Other things came precedence. Became small time sort of freelance writers for magazines, local magazines. Lillian started an article called Trash Talk, which dealt with how to better recycle and deal with your home personal waste and recycling and reusing and that kind of thing before sending everything to the landfill. So that became a series of articles that we compiled into a book, and it now became a 2-book series. It's called Trash Talk Book 1 and 2. And we worked together on that as the first project and realized, yeah, it's pretty good. She does a lot of the work behind the scenes work where she finds all the details and she compiles all the information. We bring it together. I do a lot of the editing. I do all the graphic work. I do all the photography, things like that. So
Right. Pretty cool.
yeah,
That's pretty
we
cool.
work as a good team. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Now, I know that you've been performing as a musician for like 35 years or something like that.
Over 40 years now. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
I'm a drummer and percussionist, so I'm kind of a wide-ranging noisemaker.
but when did you start actually, repairing them and manufacturing them? That's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah, I started, let's see, the first one I built was a djembe. Djembe is an African drum. I built a mold for building them out of fiberglass back in 92. So way back then, I had the idea that because back then it was hard to find djembes at an affordable price. So I decided, well, I'm going to start making my own.
Yes.
And I made them out of fiberglass, which is lighter and more, I call it stage friendly because it can be really loud compared to wood. So if I'm on a stage with rock and roll amplified instruments of any sort, a louder instrument is more beneficial. So I don't have to hit so hard and hurt my hands.
And the
So
drum is a marvelous instrument, isn't it?
it is, yeah, yeah, yeah. The djembe is it's sort of one of those instruments a beginner or an expert can play on them comfortably because they're so easy to get a sound out of.
Right. Yeah. And I know a woman, I've interviewed her, actually, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she does healing using with the use of drums, and I think, yeah, because it
Mhm.
just goes right into your being.
Oh, it does, yeah. And it's very meditating. The time that you're playing the drum, whether it's 10 minutes or half an hour or an hour, you don't think of everything else in your life that you can't, necessarily shut off those voices about the mortgage and the bills and all the things in your life that you don't want to think about sometimes. You don't have time when you're playing the drum and concentrating on what your hands are doing and listening to the rest of the room. You don't have time to think of other things. So it is truly meditation. You get to shut off everything for that time that you're drumming, and it really helps.
And I believe you're still performing. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I play in a weekend rock band, a couple of them actually, yeah, and
Oh,
studio work when I can. Yeah,
tell me the name of the rock bands.
the dead band is called Tantrum. That's the main rock band I'm in. We've been playing for about 5 years together. We do classic rock and roll and just a weekend band, having fun and playing in pubs once in a while and parties. The other band is called Elevation Gain, and they're more of sort of a pop dance kind of group. But
Okay.
both really talented people I'm playing with now. So
Yeah.
it's nice to find people like that are just along the same level that we want to do it casually. We don't have any aspirations of being stars. It's just for fun and our own therapy, music therapy. Just to get out and play is so much fun.
It sounds wonderful. Doing something that you just have fun at, right?
Yeah, and performing for people is the key. Like it's fine to play an instrument. It's even better to play with others in the garage or wherever you play. But to get out and play for people that appreciate it and dance to the music, that's just the highlight of the whole thing. It makes it all worthwhile.
Do you perform every weekend?
No. It's casual. We might play once a month or
Oh, okay.
less sometimes. Yeah.
Because okay, so this is going to air on the 23rd of this month. So when is your next performance and where?
It would be let's see, the 25th of October for Halloween. I'm
Okay.
playing in Casey's Community House, it's called, in Creston, BC. And that's with Elevation Game. And the next night on the 26th, the Saturday, I'm playing with Tantrum in Jimmy's Pub, same town, Creston,
Okay.
BC.
Very good. Yeah.
So busy weekend for me.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's get back to your books. It's a series of 2 books, you said, right? Trash Talk.
Yeah. That's the first books we wrote, and then we went on to a collection of Lillian's poetry. She's a very accomplished poet. She's been writing most of her life, and she had quite a collection. So we published that as the second book. The third book after that was, I believe, Purple Snowflake Marketing, and that's based on all the tricks and trials that we learned as writers, as self-published writers, how to get your book out there. Because even when you have a publisher, you have to do a lot of the work. It's up to you to promote your book as much as possible. You can't just sit back and hope it sells, right? So this book has compiled all the work we've done and how to be that purple snowflake in the snowstorm of books that are out there, because it's tough nowadays with self-publishing, and the digital world has made it so a lot of people can now write a book. So there's a lot of books available now. So how do you stand out? You got to be a little different, right? And you have to learn how to market yourself in such a way that you're not making the person you're working with do the work. You're supplying everything for them that you can.
Right.
You're making it as comfortable and as easy as it is possible for them to promote you. You don't want to make it difficult if you're trying to ask them to help you by promoting, right? So we've learned that it's always great to have a warm fuzzy attached to something. So you're doing something that makes them smile and makes them appreciate you. And that goes a long way in the world of marketing, because then they're going to want to work with you. If you make it so it's difficult and they have to keep asking questions, and you miss details in the email, you have to really pay attention, and you really have to work at making it easy for them to promote you. And that's what the book does. And it also shows you what we call alley cat marketing, where you're not necessarily putting out a lot of money, but you're doing things that are creative, like handing out one of my tricks is I would take my dog downtown. My dog is very beautiful, so I have a picture of her on our bookmark. So I take my dog downtown, and people, oh, what a beautiful dog. And I tell them, no, this is Duchess. She's passed now, but this is the one I'm using an example for. This is Duchess. And I said, she's my good girl, and she's a model. And they go, oh, a model. I said, yeah, would you like to see? And I bring out a bookmark and show it to them. And next thing you know, they want the bookmark. I haven't even talked about the book yet. We're talking about the dog, right? And puppies go a long way in marketing. People see a puppy and say, oh, yeah, they like that. They respond. So I call it puppy marketing or back alley marketing. You're not really putting out a lot, but you're using something creative to be remembered. And I've also handed over that bookmark without having to say, hey, would you buy my book? Right? That's sort of a hard marketing. You're getting it right to the point, but I'm skirting around it by talking about dogs and puppies. Next thing you know, they want the bookmark and they want another one for their friend because it's such a beautiful dog.
So, very clever. That's really clever.
Yeah, and that's part of what this Purple Snowflake marketing is. That book tells you how to do these little tricks and do it on a budget that you can afford, because not everyone has a lot of money to promote their books. And you can do it on a scale that you have the availability of funds for, based on that.
Right. Yeah. No, I know you're like, if I Google your name, I can find you on Amazon and LinkedIn and Facebook, like everywhere. Right.
Yeah, that's my wife. Yeah, she markets as much as she can. She's really good at it. Like, we've been doing it for, like I say, since the mid-90s. So she's picked up a lot of tricks and really honed her skills on marketing and getting out there. So, and it is work. She has to do a lot of work to do that. It's not easy.
For sure. So what did the two of you do on your downtime?
We like to go for walks in the forest with our dogs. Oh. Yeah, lots of nature. That's our sort of getaway, is just to go for a nice walk in nature and be amongst the trees and the birds and the bees. We do a lot of gardening. We're big gardeners, so we stay around home. We spend a lot of time landscaping our own home and beautifying the yard. Usually our yard is like a park when we're done. So we find it's a lot of gardening, a lot of at-home stuff. We always improving our home too. We're great believers in that. If you're going to live in a place, why not make it better? And then your value is going up as you live there rather than just using it.
For sure. Are you from BC originally?
Yes, I was born in Kelowna.
Oh, in Kelowna, eh? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You're in BC too, aren't you? You're on the coast?
Yes, I'm in Chilliwack.
Okay.
Yeah. Not from here originally, but this is where I am now. So yeah, I'm just I'm just thinking about, tell me how you met, you and Lillian.
Well, we met when I was performing once. We used to play in this place in Kelowna called Jonathan Siegel's. We were the house band there, and it was sort of the musicians hangout. So all the musicians would come there and get up on stage with us, and very music community oriented place. So a lot of people that were music fans, like Lillian, would come down and just hang out every week and see all the different bands that would come in, all the people that would sit in, and her knowing one of my good friends, I met her through that, and we just started talking and realized we had lots of commonalities, and just got together then.
Yeah, very good. So now, do you have? Well, you've done so much and you're doing so much, but do you have any other plans for adding things to your long list of accomplishments?
Oh yeah. There's always future plans. Yeah, I've got a few. I'll call them inventions I have for as a conga player. I found there's a few things that aren't readily accessible. Certain instruments that when you're playing your congas, you'd have to go to the table, pick up something else, play it, put it down, get back to your congas. So I've built a few things that attach to the congas that I can just reach out and grab them and play them. So I've got about 3 or 4 different things that do that. I've got a plan. I'm doing a little bit of a video series on being a percussionist, because there's lots of things out there for being a drummer. There's lots of things out there on being a conga player or a bongo player, but how do you apply being a percussionist to pop music, to a real life situation? I'm going to sit in with a country band or a reggae band or a rock and roll band. How do I apply those congas and shakers and tambourines and wood blocks and bells? There's got to be some kind of recipe you have to follow, because for blues, there's a certain thing that's expected, right? You don't want to overplay and play like you would in a reggae band, and vice versa. You wouldn't play a blues type of percussion texture on a reggae track. So there's lots of things that aren't being shared out there or taught, because it's sort of a different world.
Right. Oh, okay.
I'm a drummer that's crossed over to percussion. So I know that a percussionist can't necessarily play all the way over everything else. There's certain holes that are left by the musicians and the drummer that percussion can fit into. So I don't just start swinging and shaking and playing something. I think about, okay, where's the gap in the music?
Yeah.
Where can I fit in where I'm not walking over the music? I'm not interrupting the vocal line. I'm not interrupting the solo passage of a guitar or a piano. It's basically texturing and standing back and filling in the gaps with subtle things. So I plan on teaching that a little bit through a video series. So I find there's a gap in the world of that. There's lots of other things, but not that. So.
Right. Yeah. Pretty cool. I'm just thinking about, like, if somebody has a drum, you may, whatever kind of drum, and it gets a rip in it or a tear, you're able to fix that, right?
That's right. Yeah. I learned from my African mentor, David Chow. He's from Senegal. He taught me back in the 90s how to fix and repair drums. And I did a lot of it myself through reverse engineering. I had to sort of take a picture of all these ropes on the drum and figure out how they're tied. And he taught me some of the subtle things. I only saw him once every few months, so it was very few and far between. So between them visiting with him and getting a little tips, I figured a lot of it on my own. But I also learned that a lot of instruments aren't properly tended or tuned to a proper pitch, so especially the djembes. So they might sound substandard until you get them tuned up to the proper sound, and suddenly it sounds really good. So I call myself a drum doctor. I can take a drum that's been in someone's possession for years and they don't really realize that it's not tuned properly, especially the djembes. They have to be to quite a high tension to get the bass note to happen. So I take my doctorship and put it to the drum and fix it, and suddenly they go, wow, this thing sings. It really plays well. And that's the key. If you have any instrument that doesn't play well or doesn't sound, or something wrong with it, you can't make music out of it as easy. And I make it sweet. I make it tuned up properly, and suddenly they can play it easier than get sounds and bass notes and slaps out of it that never were there before. So just learning through my own instrumentation, I've been able to apply that to other people's instruments and say, look, this is now how it should be, and get a lot of appreciation for that.
I had no idea. When you think about it, I hear people tuning their guitar or their violin or whatever, or piano, but nobody's ever mentioned tuning a drum.
Yeah. There's quite a difference in a tuned drum because you can get a tone out of every drum, whether it's tom-toms on a drum set of different size or congas that are different size. They all have their own note.
Right.
So you can tune them in proper intervals where they're a fourth apart where it sounds nice, or a fifth apart sounds pretty good. If you get them only at a one note or two note, like a second or third to the main note, that doesn't sound quite right. So you have to make them pleasing, like in a chord on a piano. There's certain notes that fit 1, 3, 5, the first, the third, and the fifth note. That's great for congas and drums. Some don't work good, so you just have to find certain tunings for certain drums. They all have their own voice. So you just have to kind of play with it and find it. Usually when I repair a drum for a person, I won't just say, okay, here, it's done. I usually play it for a couple of days, make sure it's right, and put some magic into it and retune it sometimes and fine tune it. And then it's amazing what you get out of a drum when you tune it properly.
Do you find that most people don't know about tuning a drum? Even drum, I'm talking about drummers specifically.
Yeah. A lot of drummers think they can tune their drums, but they don't have the science down because you usually have two heads in a drum. There's a top and a bottom. So the top one is the actual tone or the note of the drum. The bottom one is the resonance. So if you have it really high in the bottom, the drum resonates more. If you have the bottom one really loose, it doesn't resonate as much. So there's a science to having those in tune with each other. Sometimes you can have both at the same note.
Yeah.
Or you can have the bottom one a third tighter or a fifth tighter than the top, and it gives it a different texture to the tone. So depending on the drum, the big floor toms, the bigger ones, I like to have them go doom and the note bends down. The mid to higher ones I have with a bit of a bend up, so the bottom's higher and it goes doom, doom, sort of an up bend to the note. So it depends on the drum and your style of playing. Rock and roll is different than jazz tuning.
Right.
Everyone's different in their own likes. Some drummers might have a jazz tuning kit on a rock and roll band. Some people might have a rock tuning style on a jazz band. So it just depends on your personal flavor. Your personal voice comes through in how you tune your drums, and you can change that voice so easily by just retuning a different way.
Right. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it is to people that have no idea what the tuning of drums takes. And once I tune a kit for a person, it's like, wow, they just find a whole new love for their instrument now because it sounds good.
Yeah, I would think so, right? Yeah, I think I've covered everything, unless there's something I've missed.
Okay, well, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. I talk a lot.
No, I don't know. Listen, that's what interviews are about. The person being interviewed should be the one doing most of the talking.
All right, thanks.
Anyway, just stay on camera there. And so to the audience, listen to Dave Brummet. You can find him again. His book's on Amazon. Let's see, he's on Facebook, and I'm sure there's other spots here. I just don't I'm not familiar with all of them, but anyway.
Yeah, the easiest place to find us is on Amazon. Just look for the author name, Dave and Lillian Brummet.
Okay.
Brummet is spelled B or
okay.
Brummet. Yeah. So we have an author page there, and you can go from there all to other links on us. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Dave. Just stay on camera. So thank you, everybody, for watching the show. I hope you continue to do so, and I hope you enjoyed listening to Dave. And I know I learned something new, and that's what it's all about. Take care, everyone. Ian, peace out. All right, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah, so I'll send once it airs. Well, from when I do it with Lillian, I'll send you the link so you can do whatever you want with it. Hopefully, you'll share it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's what it's all about.
Okay, and thank you. And if you and Lillian ever have something else, maybe interview you together one time, I'd love that. That would be fun.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Nancy.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.